Tottenham could move above Premier League champions Liverpool in the Premier League and go within 4 points of league leaders Manchester United if we beat Liverpool at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium next Thursday. The title race has been blown wide open, and today I'm joined by David, the Irish Hotspur, and Scott from Podspur TV to dissect what is happening and to ask, are Tottenham still in the title race? I'm Matt Hayes and you're watching the Tottenham Fan Voice podcast. Who would have thought Ashley Barnes would be the man to have us sitting here today saying Tottenham could well and truly be back in this title race? I'm delighted to say I'm joined by the Irish Hotspur and Scott from Podspur TV to dissect this title race. We have injury news from Manchester City and Leicester. United star man off form, Liverpool without a goal in 4. It could be about to be blown wide open. But we start off, Scott, how are you getting on?
Very well. Those results yesterday certainly make things a little brighter around the Tottenham sphere, and like you said, might be back in the hunt. Fingers
crossed. David, how are you getting on?
I'm absolutely loving life, Matty. Of course, everyone knows I take so much joy in it when in Liverpool's fans' tears. I absolutely love it. I'm perfect today. Thanks for having me on. It's the right show to get me on.
Absolutely. It's an absolute pleasure to have the two of you on. Links for the Irish Hotspur and Podspur TV will be down in the description below if you do want to check those out. I highly recommend that you do. But look, let's dive straight into things. Liverpool dropped another 3 points last night as they lost their unbeaten home record, losing for the first time in almost 4 years at Anfield, with Ashley Barnes' late penalty wrapping up all 3 points for Burnley. David, it's 2 points out of the last possible 12 for Liverpool. They're without a goal in 4, and next up they visit Spurs. Are the wheels off the bus for Liverpool?
Oh, the wheels are completely flat, Matty. They have to pull in to get a change of tyre. I said a few weeks ago when we played them last that their cycle was coming to an end. I think I'm going to be proven right. And second of all, it's not Liverpool, it's Liverpool. And this season, they're not getting the run of the results. They're not getting the run of the decisions like they did last season, which I firmly believe helped them win that league title. They got a lot of decisions not given against them that other teams did. They got a lot of decisions for them that other teams didn't get over the season. It's balanced out now, and ironically, they're sitting there crying about VAR. They were sitting there crying a couple of weeks ago about VAR decisions, even though VAR won them the league last year. So, look, the wheels are completely flat, Matty. I'm delighted, and there's no puncture repair kit in the bus either, so they're screwed.
It's a strange one because, look, I know you said it, David. It looked as though their kind of run was coming to an end, but I feel like there's a lot of people that are still thinking, well, they still have Salah, they still have Mane, they still have Thiago to come back from injury. But Scott, it's without a goal in 4. It's the first time since 2005 Liverpool have managed that. It's crazy stuff. Is there an explanation as to why these front three isn't firing as well as they used to, or is it just the cycle of football?
I do think that there actually is a correlation here. I talked a lot about before the season how I didn't feel Liverpool was going to compete for the title again, and of course top 4. I had them in and around the hunt, but I don't really think they refreshed their squad at all. And I think they were, Diego Jota, wonderful player, so and Thiago. So of course they brought a couple of guys in, but I think when you're as successful as they are, you're pumping new contracts. Really, you're looking for those types of people who are best in class, world class, top in their position to come into your squad, and it's very challenging. It's really hard to refresh without just crazy amounts of money when you are following the 2 or 3 years of major success that they had. And so, really not that surprised to see them floundering a little bit. They'll certainly be competing for a top 4 spot, but I don't think that they refreshed well enough to sustain what they'd been doing. And injuries start happening. Klopp faces some adversity, and here we are.
And as well, not only that, but look, there's only so long you can go at the intensity they were going at. I'll be honest, they were going at a ferocious intensity. There's only so long you can keep going at that intensity before it kind of runs its course with the players and the manager, before things start kind of falling apart, which it is slowly starting to unravel. So for me, look, Matty, you made reference to it about Thiago, so I'll let you finish off that about Thiago. But for me, look, I don't think their recruitment has been the best in the summer, to be honest with you. And again, look, they can all talk about injuries all they want. But when we have Harry Kane and Son out, they're the first ones to tell us, well, you should have backups for them. So they can sit there and cry all they want. But at the end of the day, I'll be there with the bucket mopping up their tears.
Yeah, and just the point you're making there, David, about Thiago. Look, David, you've said it in the past as well, and a couple of friends have said it to me. Thiago is, look, no one's denying he's a world-class footballer. He has exceptional talent. He's just one of the best midfielders in the world in terms of technical ability. But Spanish midfielders typically play slow football. You know, we often talk about players coming from the La Liga into the Premier League. It takes a while to adapt, and there's only a handful of Spanish players, especially midfielders, who can come in and make their name in the Premier League. And Thiago definitely has the capability to be one of them. But he's slowing down that Liverpool team. You know, he's typically, he likes to get the ball on the ground, likes to get his head up. He looks, and then he picks the best pass. Now, he has at times been the player kind of starting those attacks and playing like really good crisp balls into if it's Bobby Firmino or Mohamed Salah picking up the space between the lines. But in a general sense, he kind of slows down that play, and that could be to Liverpool's detriment. And people always said, you know, when he was out injured, as soon as they get him back, that's when things will change for Liverpool, and things have changed, but for the worse. 2 draws and 2 defeats in their last 4 games. It shouldn't be happening a team of that quality. And Scott, Brad makes a good point here. Is anyone worried that we're playing Liverpool at a good time? It never seems to work out that way. Do you think Liverpool could be coming to this game next Thursday looking for a response, and could we catch them just at maybe the worst point?
I mean, there's always a chance. I think, you know, it's a good question and a fair question, but it kind of ties into a conversation I've been having a lot, that I think as fans, we need to maybe start moving past the Spursy, the Dr. Tottenham mentality, you know, assuming that we're going to dish up what every other opponent needs, because we're past those days, and we're certainly not perfect. You know, we're in that growth and the recovery phase of some of that, but Jose's there, he's a winner. And I think, you know, as fans, we are pleading for our team to have a winning mentality and go in with a tough mental approach. And I think as fans, we need to start trying to do the same thing. And so I'm going to say I fully believe in our squad. I'm ready to go, you know, play Liverpool and get a win. I think, you know, Jose's the type of manager who's gonna recognize a wounded animal and go step on their throat and get it done. So I'm very confident. I also know that I'm guilty of being overconfident pretty often, you know, when it comes to Spurs, but I really feel good about it. Don't mind
that, Scott. We love that. We love it.
Come on, you Spurs. Let's go.
Yeah, this is the type of game where we just get the job done to show that we are on that level, that we are potentially in a title race. And this is the game where in the past we've been criticised of not getting the job done. You know, there's so many times in the maybe decade where I've been properly supporting Spurs, where, you know, if we win this game we get into the top 4, or if we win this game we go top of the table, or if we win this game you know, we go ahead of Arsenal, whatever it was back in the early 2010s. And typically that's the game that we do mess up. I remember going to the Etihad, I know it was maybe 2011 or 2012, we go to the Etihad, we win, and we went top of the table in something like March, and we went 2-0 down, and we managed to pull it back and conceded a last minute penalty, and, you know, that was messed up. It's typically, this is the kind of final hurdle where Spurs do slip up. Bradley's saying Spurs have nothing to fear from Liverpool when we play them next. They're on poor form. Their defence is no better than Tottenham's. Let's attack Liverpool from minute 1. Wayne saying I can see Liverpool doing better in the FA Cup than the league. But just on that point, David, about Liverpool's defence, it's weak. Look, there's no doubt about that. Gomez is out injured. Van Dijk is out injured. Matip isn't at his best. He's not fully fit. They're having to play Fabinho back there, who, let's be honest, I think has been one of the best centre-backs in the league this season, especially considering he's had to adapt. But aside from the fact that their defence is weakened, they're now taking out the heart of that midfield and putting it in the back in Fabinho and sometimes in Jordan Henderson. So these injuries are affecting their defensive line and their midfield line, yet somehow it's their front line that we're talking about the most. Are we now starting to see just how important that midfield was to Liverpool's team last season?
Yeah, 100%, yeah. Look, to be honest with you, I still don't rate Henderson, but one thing I'll give him, he gives them that energy and that legs to get around. He does a lot of mopping up. He's the sort of player that you see Liverpool getting a lot of late goals as well. And the reason why that was because Henderson had full energy. He's full of energy, and he was able to, he's a sort of player that can, the last minute or two, he can just get the team from one end of the field to the other with just pure the energy that's left in his legs. Look, Fabinho being taken out midfield, I think is huge for them, because in fairness, the guy used to mop up a hell of a lot there. He did. He used to clean up in midfield, the size of the fucker. But look, for me, moving him back to centre back, it's a good move. And to be honest with you, I want us to go and attack Liverpool. Like we said, like Scott was saying, they're a wounded animal. And for me, I'm not messing. I'd say Jose's sitting here with a whiskey tonight, celebrating Vardy's injury, De Bruyne's injury, celebrating Liverpool's loss last night. Do you know what I mean? Everyone was saying Spurs are out of the title race. We beat Liverpool. We are firmly right back in the mix. We are back in the mix. And from then on, I think Jaws is a sort of manager that if he can get the right mentality installed in players this time around, because look, the last couple of chances we've had to kind of pull away at the top and that, we've kind of let ourselves down. But honestly, I hope they learned their lessons. It's third time lucky, and we can smash Liverpool and go on an incredible run. Because it's not the big teams I fear. Like, we've Chelsea after Liverpool. I honestly think we'll beat them and Frank Lampard will be sacked. Do you know what I mean? Then you go and play Brighton. That should be 3 points. And then you've City after that. Again, we've such a good record over Pep. Do you know what I mean? Bald head Pep. Just get him in a headlock. Give him an old nuggie. Do you know what I mean? Send him back to City. So for me, yeah, look, I think the injury crisis, look, no doubt it's hampered Liverpool. But at the end of the day, like I said, there's only so long you keep going at that intensity before injuries and everything else started happening. And to be honest, I'm delighted. It's about time Liverpool fans were brought back down to earth, Matty, brought back down to reality instead of thinking they're above the law, above everyone else. So yeah, roll on Liverpool. Let's spank them at Wembley. It's a bigger pitch than what Anfield is. We've a lot more room to play a ball in. I think because it's a wider pitch as well, Liverpool's defence will be spread out a bit wider, so there will be gaps to get in behind them. So for me, yeah, roll on Liverpool personally. I'm not scared one bit. This is the time. Now is the time to go and stake your claim for this league. Now.
This is it. It's such a big game. Wayne Bonner here saying get Son and Stevie B forcing themselves in the defence and have Kane deeper as a silent assassin. Scott, it seems so weird to say that it's the Liverpool wingbacks, the Liverpool fullbacks that have been some of their worst players this season, especially Trent Alexander-Arnold out on that right hand side. You know, it's game after game. We're coming out with these stats. You know, against Southampton, he gave the ball away 38 times, which is the most of any player in the league this season. It was crossing accuracy against Burnley. It was dreadful. His, whatever it was, every single game there's a stat about just how bad he is. Son against Trent, could that be how we beat them next Thursday?
100%. I think Liverpool, for 2 years, I was blown away by the fact that they didn't have rotation at the fullback position. Just mind blown by that. It's such an important position to rotate, right? They didn't for 2 years, and I think some of this is just mental fatigue as much as physical fatigue on those two guys. You know, they were touted as the best fullback pairing in England, maybe Europe. Both phenomenal players, right? But putting that much pressure on two guys that are that young is going to break at some point, and I think we're seeing that. But to answer your question, I say absolutely, and the reason I really say that is Son has been very effective against teams who are good and brave enough and talented enough to get forward on us. He seems to be very good at just getting in these positions where you almost forget about him. Boom, he pops into space. He reads the game so well. And for that reason, I'm never surprised when he doesn't produce a ton against these bottom table teams that don't offer us a lot of room to break. You know, Jose's looking for very specific moments to get forward. He's got Son trained very well to do that. And Liverpool is going to give us opportunities all over the pitch for Son to exploit space. So I think we look to filter everything, as we've done all year, through Kane, through Son. Let him, have a heyday with Trent Alexander-Arnold, which does sound silly to say. And I think we both, we all agree that very strange to sit here and say that Trent Alexander-Arnold is going to be the weak point, but he is, and Son's going to be prepared.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, look, I know Klopp let it slip a couple of weeks ago that Trent did have COVID earlier in the season. So, it's disappointing that it has affected a player of his talent so much. And he's not the only one. Kai Havertz from Chelsea just doesn't seem to have fully recovered from that just yet. But before we move on, I want to thank Wayne Bonner for upgrading his membership to Champions League level. Wayne, thank you so much. Massively appreciate that. Anyone in the chat, if you are interested in becoming a channel member, make sure to hit that join button down below, and everything will be explained to you there, starting at just £1.99 per month. You get exclusive access to extra videos, player rating videos after every watch along, and access to the members call-in show before every watch along as well. Laura Leak says, Matt, can you give your honest opinions on Sissoko the GOAT? I think I agree with all the comments. Sissoko is better than Maradona. Sissoko is better than Pele. All of the ones there. He's better than Ronaldo. He's better than Messi. I think, it's fact. I think we all agree with that one. James Watson making the point, Trent had 18 crosses yesterday. Not one was completed. Igor says they're in bad form, but that doesn't mean you change what you do to beat teams like Liverpool. Defend and frustrate them and counter with pace of Son and Stevie and Kane and Tanguy playmaking. Is that what we need to do, David? Do we just need to stick to our game, the game that has worked against these bigger teams, that's so nearly worked against Liverpool earlier in the season? Or do you think they're there for the taking if we do go out and try and attack them?
To be honest with you, Matt, I think the first 20 minutes we need to get straight at them and not let them settle at our home stadium. To be honest with you, they're wounded. They're hurt after the last game. So for me, you get straight at them for the first 20 minutes. You don't let them settle. You try and see if you can nick a goal or two. And then after that, then, look, what I would say is you are going to be penned back in some of the time. People have to expect this. Like, Liverpool are good at keeping possession a lot of the time as well, as we've seen at Anfield. So we are going to pen back in a lot of the time. But what I want to see Spurs do better is when we do get that ball, just not give it straight back to them. I want to see us try and create a couple of passing moves out I think Stevie B is going to be very important. I think if we do need to kick it long, he's going to be our outball. I think he'll be told to stick up top, and you'll see similar to what we did against Anfield. You see Kane dropping deep a lot. And wouldn't it be ironic if Stevie B went and got us the goals to beat them? It'd be absolutely perfect. But for me, yeah, look, I think the first 20 minutes you go all out, you don't let them settle, you attack. Then maybe you sit back for a couple of minutes, you invite them out if you have no joy. You invite them to come out, and then hopefully you can turn the ball over and get in behind. And then it becomes a dangerous game in the second half. I think we could go in 1-0 up at half-time. Then the second half becomes a dangerous game because they're not going to sit back. They're not going to come flying out. So it's how we deal with it, and the tactics that Jose implement at half-time, for me, is what's going to be crucial. For me, I think the first 10 minutes you do come out and sit back because we have been caught just after half-time a few times. And then what you want to do is you want to attack. So especially from 75 minutes onwards, I want to see us start retaining the ball a lot more because we conceded a lot of goals after 75 minutes. It's not good enough. So for me, I want from 75 minutes onwards, I want us to try and retain the ball and keep possession and hopefully win this game.
Yeah, that could be the key for us in this one. Now, moving on from Liverpool, we've got 2 pieces of injury news from our top 4 league title contenders, whatever you want to call them. Manchester City have confirmed Kevin De Bruyne has been ruled out for 4 to 6 weeks, I think with a hamstring injury, and Jamie Vardy is to have a hernia operation that will rule him out for about a month. Scott, we're coming into a time in the season now. It's so congested. The FA Cup games are coming thick and fast. The Premier League games are coming thick and fast. European football is going to be back in the next couple of weeks as well. How big a loss is it? We start with Manchester City losing Kevin De Bruyne. They have, in that 4 to 6 week period, they play us and they play Liverpool. How big a loss could this prove to be for them?
Huge loss. I mean, he's one of those guys that is arguably best in class in his position, across the world. A lot of what they do is going to run through him. It's going to impact them for sure. And we all know Leicester City losing Vardy is most definitely going to impact them. He's a lot of their end product. And I never want to celebrate an injury. Always a tough thing, but it's football, and we have to take advantage of the fact that they are going to be a bit hampered by these 2 pieces here. And I think, again, if we look at our manager, his experience, his success, without a doubt, he has found himself in numerous situations where his opponents were weakened for whatever reason, and he'll know exactly how to capitalize on what we'll be looking at. So I really think when you look at what's happened the past month, you look at De Bruyne, you look at Jamie Vardy, every reason to think come 4 to 6 weeks from now, I won't say we will be, right at the top of the table, but every reason for us to believe that we could be at the top of the table if we play our cards right, and act accordingly. And again, very confident that we're set up to be able to do that right now.
I just love that all these answers are saying our manager is the perfect manager for this. It's outstanding. It's such a confident thing to be able to say. On Kevin De Bruyne, David, Phil Foden and Ilkay Gundogan on outstanding form this season, probably the best seasons they've ever had in a City jersey. On the flip side, Bernardo Silva has been disappointing. Rodri hasn't really, from what I've seen, made his mark in many games. Do you think there's enough quality in that midfield for them to try to get through this period unscathed, or do you think this could be the thing that breaks this really strong run of form they're having?
No, look, no. People talk about City as title contenders. They're not title contenders. They've no striker. You need a striker to win a title. They don't have a striker. Gabriel Jesus is not good enough to pick up the void that Aguero leaves. Sterling hasn't been the same player. He hasn't been at the same level he's been at the last few years. Bernardo Silva has just been shit this season. Honestly, there's no other way of putting it. He's just been crap. Okay, Gundogan and Roden, yeah, they're the best players, but you have to remember, they were their worst players the last few years. Do you know what I mean? Like, the thing is, now that you're talking about them being the best players, it shows how far City have fallen from grace. And to be honest with you, I've said this before. I think Pep signing that contract was a ruse. I think, honestly, because they've seen how poor City were, because I think a lot of the players probably knew that Pep would be gone in the summer, that they signed the contract to try and, get the best out of them, get Champions League and whatever else. I honestly don't think Pep would be here after the summer. And that's why I think the contract was a smart move to try and give the players a kick up the arse. But look, it's not enough. De Bruyne being out, he's their main player. Everything comes through him. It's not. They're going to fall apart. Honestly, I do think they'll fall apart.
Fingers crossed. It'd be such a big thing for us if they did. And on that point, them having a striker, I said it yesterday. It's a year to the day yesterday since Sergio Aguero last scored a Premier League goal, which is absolutely baffling to me. I was absolutely shocked when I saw that. Wayne says the title race is wide open at the minute. De Bruyne and Vardy out, Liverpool out of form. If we get it right and make the right subs at the right time, then we're going to be a huge part of it. Scott, would you argue that Vardy missing for Leicester is a bigger loss than De Bruyne for Manchester City?
Potentially, like David just said, he hit the nail on the head. Without a striker getting the business done for you, it's very difficult to compete for the Premier League, and he's their guy. How he's done it at this level, at his age, coming from non-league football to Leicester City is still just phenomenal. And all credit to Jamie Vardy, but they're going to miss him. I do think that there's an argument there. When I look at De Bruyne being out, I almost liken it to 17, 18. 16, 17 in there, where if we would have lost Eriksen, it would have been really dicey for us. Everything went through him, and we were so fortunate he never went down. I kind of likened what De Bruyne does for City to what Eriksen did for us in his peak, and so it's going to be a miss for them. But I'm going to pull it back to David's point. If you don't have a certified striker, very difficult to win a Premier League title. And I think in the next month they maybe even fall out of the top four. I really do. Even a couple draws at this point, as tight as the table is, can push you out of the top four. And they're going to miss Jamie Vardy, no question about it.
And it is this stage of the season last year in terms of games played where Leicester fell apart. It was the 19-game mark. They were so fantastic in that first 19 games. And I think between the turn of the year and the season breaking in March, I think they only won 2 games or something. And they were equally as bad after the restart. Is there anyone you think can fill that void for Leicester, David? Even though I know it is only a month, but is there anyone that could do that?
No, you have Iheanacho, whatever you want to call him. The guy is absolutely useless. Honestly, he's so crap. He's so bad in front of goal. Who gave him a professional contract? I don't know. Look, everything comes through Vardy. Vardy's the one that wins them games. Fortunately enough, to be honest with you, he's gone and got injured, which is perfect for us. And to be honest with you, I've always maintained what I've said. Leicester can do well all they want. A Brendan Rodgers team in the Premier League, forget about Celtic, that's a shit division. Talking about the Premier League, a Brendan Rodgers team in the Premier League notoriously fall apart come the back end of the campaign. Notoriously. It happened at Liverpool. Even when he had his time at Swansea, they were flying, they fell apart. Because of the training and the way he has them set up and the way he has them to play and everything, and the way they all put so much in. You've seen it under Poch. You tire out and you fade away. It's exactly what's going to happen with Leicester, but it's going to happen even earlier now because Jamie Vardy is out missing. Look, they may have Maddison, they may have Barnes, they might chip in with a few goals, but they're going to struggle to win games now without Vardy. Vardy's their main man. Vardy is their outlet. How many times do you see them being able to get the ball and put it in behind and stretch teams? It's not going to happen now. Iheanacho is just not a natural finisher. He's not. It's as simple as that. So for me, look, unless Leicester go and sign a striker, it's game over for them. But one thing I just want to touch on what Scott was saying before about Jose. This is the time now where all these Jose haters at our club who support Tottenham need to get on the bandwagon, need to support him, need to get behind the players, and everyone just needs to start coming together as one. And this is our time to go and push now. And the only way we're going to succeed is if we all come together as one and get all of our support behind the boys, behind Jose and everything else. In Jose we trust. We're coming for the league.
Absolutely. I think it's now is kind of the time where we need to see it kind of a coming together among the fan base in terms of getting the support to Jose Mourinho, because you can understand there's always going to be people who are disappointed with the defensive football that we're playing, but at the end of the day, if that wins us a title, I do it for 10 years with nothing to win that one title in 10 seasons. To be honest, that's what it is. He's the man that has used his style of football everywhere else he's been to win trophies, including Manchester United, the team that he gets laughed at, the lowest point of his career, the reason nobody rates him as a manager anymore. He still won 3 trophies in one season with them. And even though it was their
worst team in years, Matty, that he done a job with. I even said that at the time to United fans, start respecting the guy. Look at your team, it's shit.
He even said that season, finishing second with 81 points in that team is the greatest achievement of his managerial career, and everybody laughed at him. And a year later, they were saying, wow, this guy's a genius. He's worked miracles there. How would I do that? It's absolutely crazy. But on the point of Manchester United, Bruno Fernandes over the last month has been woeful. Absolutely woeful. He's just not been good enough. I think that game against Liverpool was the kind of culmination of all the poor performances. He was absolutely shocking. Rashford, he just doesn't cut it, I think, as a Premier League footballer. Martial is hot and cold. Pogba is hot and cold. Van de Beek isn't getting in the team. Scott, if Man United lose Bruno Fernandes to injury, or if he continues in this really poor run of form, do you think they could start to wean out of the title race, or do you think they're in it for the long haul?
I don't even think they're in it right now, to be honest. I know what the table looks like, but I just don't think anything they've done is sustainable. They've had some very, very favorable decisions from referees that have put them in this position. I look back to that Pogba penalty where he tripped himself, and that's kind of when everything started for them, and they got hot and found themselves towards the top of the table. But again, it's not sustainable. To your point, Bruno Fernandes, everything's gone through him. If he stays cold, if he were to drop off, and I don't even know if there's a difference right now, being cold is, just as impactful as dropping off with an injury, I think. But without him, there's no way they're going to sustain anything at all. So I just don't see the talent there. I don't see the cohesion. I think, again, some decisions from referees mixed with the run that they've had, and a couple lucky wins, I'll say, have put them there. But just like I said with Leicester City, a couple draws from Man United, and they're back, out of the top four as close as this race is. And I think the final thought on all of that, to put a bow on it, is I just don't think their manager is talented enough to perform under the pressure that teams 1 through 6 are going to be under for the remaining, season ahead. And we have a manager who has proven time and time again that he is a diamond that pops out of pressure every single time he's put under that pressure. So, when I look at us in comparison to all these other teams in the title race, there's only a couple that I think have the leadership to really see as tight of a race as we're seeing through.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the point of Solskjaer is such an important one because, first of all, I just want to thank Emily Dunn for that super chat. Massively appreciated, Emily. But look, United have, I think it's is it 13 wins out of 18 or 13 out of 19, whatever it is. They have a really good record this season. But David, I kind of called it last week almost a fraudulent position or a fraudulent record because they have not been good. It's such a weird thing to say. They don't play good football. They grind their way through games, which on one hand is the sign of champions. But on the flip side, when they're doing it so consistently, it's not sustainable, and it's not something they can run through the entire second half of the season. When it comes down to the nitty gritty, squeaky bum time at the end of the season, is Solskjaer the man who has the knowledge, has the know-how, has the kind of experience to see that through at the end of the season, or do you think the managers around him, if it is Guardiola, if it is Klopp, if it is Mourinho, or even if it is Brendan Rodgers, do you think that the manager could be that really important kind of factor come the end of the season?
Yeah, 100%. Having the nous, having the composure and the calmness. You know what I mean? Look, every manager come towards the end of the season at the top is going to have pressure. But for me, the one who's going to be able to deal with it the most is Mourinho. He's a genius with the press. All they got a shoe shiner, okay? He's never winning the league, ever. He's a shoe shiner. It's exactly what he is. He's not good enough. He doesn't have the experience. He always comes out with this shite talk in the press. No one even listens to his press conferences. He's that boring. You're never winning the league with the French Carton Cole Martial up front. Never. He's not good enough to go and win a Timmy League. Again, United's run, right, as honesty. Again, it's like what Liverpool had last year, VAR. VAR has given United their run. It's as simple as that. And for me, I'm going to start questioning this because United were absolutely shocking and useless, right? Them and Liverpool wanted to form this breakaway league, whatever shite they were talking about, right? And now all of a sudden, the two of them are both up the top. And Liverpool were boasted up to the top because of VAR. I want to know what's going on there. It's not good enough, like. You know what I mean? No other club gets the run of VAR the way they do. It's a joke. But for me, look, United are not winning the league. They've Lindelof at the back with Maguire. They're two of the slowest centre-backs in the league. They can't win it, right? They've Butterfingers and goal, right? All it takes is for him to have another bad week and and a few more mistakes. They're going to fly back down the table. Luke Shaw at left back or your man Telles. Useless. Okay, Wan-Bissaka, he does a good job for them defence. Well, actually, he doesn't even. He got ripped apart by Leipzig in the Champions League. And as well, this is another factor. When the European games come back around, Matty, they're going to crumble. There's going to be so much pressure on them. Their players can't handle it. Paul Pogba, for me, they're never going to be successful until they get rid of Paul Pogba. For me, he is the cancer at their club. I know he has a lot of potential, but for me, until he goes and everything's not about Paul Pogba and there's not so much noise coming out United, they're not winning a thing.
Absolutely. I love the slander of opposition teams here. It's the best thing about this. Excuse me. Robert Yee says, Matt, a season of attrition will come down to managers' handling of injuries that will happen. And this is a really good point and a really relevant one as well from Robert. I saw a tweet a while ago talking about how, I think it was a Liverpool fan saying we need Van Dijk back as soon as possible. As soon as he's fit enough to get on the pitch, we need to get him back. But he's injured his ACL. He's been out for 4, 5, 6 months, whatever it is. The last thing Liverpool can afford to do right now is to rush him back in. They need to think with Van Dijk the long term. they simply cannot get him back in. Sergio Aguero was having a lot of recurrent injuries, and I know he's tested positive for the virus lately. He's going to be a while to come back in. And there's all these players that are missing around these teams. De Bruyne, consistent hamstring injuries as well. Now, Vardy's one probably isn't going to be a long-term thing, but these players could really struggle to get back into these teams. They just might not be able to get back in as quickly as these timeframes are potentially suggesting. And one more team I want to talk about, they're not a title contender. I just think it's really funny to talk about them. Chelsea. Scott, it's just completely fallen apart. They spent £250 million in the window. They've won 2 of their last 8 games. They're dropping points left, right, and centre. Do you think Lampard has much time left at Chelsea?
I don't think so, and I feel like that's an objective viewpoint just based on what we're seeing. I will say at the beginning of the season there was a lot of talk about the business they had brought in: Timo Werner, Ziyech, the gentleman from Leverkusen. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. Kai Havertz. They did look good, but I think it was a new contingency that was going to have to learn how to play together. And most importantly for me, they do not have a good back line. I do not think they have the defense to even come close to even a top 4 race at this point. Thiago Silva is a great player by all means, but at 36 years old, that's a lot to ask of someone who's never played in the Premier League. And frankly, this is a little bit nitpicky and probably because it's Chelsea, right? But it's laughable to me that a guy who you signed this summer is your captain. I just cannot wrap my head around that. It's just, it's very indicative of a team who doesn't have much of an identity and just spends money, right? So I just don't think they have leaders. Sorry, say that again?
It just shows that they've no leaders at the club.
Exactly, man. Exactly. And without that leadership, even from Frank Lampard, I don't see much leadership. I don't see how they're going to sustain anything. I think they're going to fall. They're going to be competing for like 6th, 7th, 8th, maybe, potentially a Europa League position. But I think Lampard's gone in the near future. We all know Abramovich doesn't take his time to make decisions when the club's being negatively impacted. And I think many people said for Lampard, this is a very dicey decision you're making because as a club legend, it's going to be very hard for you if you do get sacked and if you do get pulled out of this position. And it might be very difficult for you to rebound. You may have to find yourself back in the Championship or even League One or something. That's a huge stretch, but he's going to have to take a job that's not terribly favorable if he wants to get back on his feet. So I think what I'm saying is this is writing on the wall that many people had seen for a long time, and I am the last person who is surprised at Chelsea's form right now. I never saw them being very good this year.
Yeah. Detrius Kane here coming in with the $5 super chat saying David is the GOAT of the Tottenham fans. I suppose we could let you have this one, David, but we all know it's not true. Just on Lampard, his points per game average of 1.67 is the 4th lowest of any permanent Chelsea manager in the Premier League, with a 1.35 goals per game conceded under his reign, the worst at the club. We haven't seen Chelsea be this bad in a long time, which is ridiculous to say because they only started being good recently. It almost surprised me that they went with him in the first place, David, because he went to Derby and the one thing he could have done to be successful at Derby was get promoted, and he did not do that. He brought them from 6th the season before he came in to 6th with less points than they had the year before. So if anything, Derby regressed under his tutelage, under his guidance. Yet still he managed to get this big job. And I kind of made the point. I was on All Leagues TV there on Wednesday, and I said he's the orchestrator of his own downfall, first of all, because he spent money that he just did not need to spend. He only spent the money kind of because it was there. And this idea of teams appointing former players as their managers is... I was talking about this when we had United fans talking about bringing on Rio Ferdinand, Patrice Evra into their board. I think bringing in a former player is a good kind of characteristic or a good thing to look for in someone, but it's not a qualification. And just because they're a former player, just because they're a club legend, does not mean it's going to work out, and it does not mean it's the right decision. Do you think Chelsea have shot themselves in the foot with this appointment, trying to be kind of maybe too progressive or too... I can't think of the word, but I think you know what I'm trying to say.
They're trying to be like PSG. That's what they're trying to be like. They think they have all this money. They can go and sign all these world-class players. You mentioned Timo Werner there. Do you know what I mean? You have Kai Havertz. He's just gone missing. It hasn't worked out. Ben Chilwell, okay, I'll give it to him. That was a good signing. Thiago Silva, never made sense for me. The fact that they made him, like Scott was saying, the fact they made him captain as soon as he walked in just shows they've no leaders in the team. How can you, as a Chelsea owner, throw that sort of money Frank Lampard, who failed in the championship with Derby. The only reason why he got the job, and let's be honest, let's not sugarcoat or skirt around the obvious, it's because he's Mr. England. That's the only reason why he got the job at Derby. It's the only reason why he got the job at Chelsea. He's Mr. England, Mr. Chelsea. Do you know what I mean? He dies for the badge. I'm Frank Lampard. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, he's just not good enough. He bottled it with Derby. He bottled it in the FA Cup final against Arsenal. Do you know what I mean? He's a bottle job. Him and Jody Morris think they're the terrible duo. They're not. Do you know what I mean? They think there's something magical. They're just not. They're two numpties. Two numpties standing there with a notepad trying to look the part. That's all they are doing is playing the part. It's all they're doing. They're not good enough. They try to model themselves off PSG. They think they're the PSG of England. They're just not. They're not. They have a tiny ground. Do you know what I mean? They have a shit manager, they have a shit backline, and all the money they spent, the players haven't come in and done the business. I firmly believe, though, if they got the right manager in, they'd be very hard bet. They'd be a very hard team to beat because the right manager would know how to play the players in the right system. Okay? They bought Timo Werner thinking he was the next Jamie Vardy. That's why they bought Timo Werner. He's not the, and then they play him out on left wing. Do you know what I mean? What is Frank doing? That's what I want to know. Someone tell me. If there's a Chelsea fan watching, try and tell me what Frank is doing. Because none of us know here.
Yeah, I don't think Frank knows either, which is the biggest concern for the club. Brad Matthews says, this is so much like the Spurs Leicester season. It's anyone's title, so why not us? And this is what I've been saying from day one this season. Well, maybe day two after we beat Southampton. I feel like Tottenham can win this league, but I also feel like any team who's in and around that top 6, 7, 8 could potentially win the league. Because it's every team is dropping points. Jose Mourinho even said it himself today. The surprise and the shock that you get from a big team losing to a small team, it just isn't there anymore. Like, we were all delighted to see Burnley beat Liverpool last night. We were all delighted to see Fulham beating Leicester a few weeks back. But deep down, we weren't surprised to see that type of thing happen because the Premier League has always been a really competitive league, probably the most competitive in Europe. But for the last couple of seasons, you had Liverpool running away with it, you'd City running away with it, and you had a massive gap between teams that we haven't seen for too long. And now we're kind of getting back to that stage where anybody can beat anyone. And it not only does it make every individual game really exciting, but it makes the whole season exciting. Because like I can honestly see a situation now where going into the last 5-6 games of the season, there could still be 4 or 5 teams in the hunt for that title. And as Brad says here, Scott, why not us?
I completely agree with Brad. You know, I think anyone who's followed Podspur or Chicken Ball or anytime I've joined you, been very vocal about the fact that I have believed Tottenham was going to win the league this year, and I still firmly believe that. And I really look at what we've been discussing over and over, right? It's very tight at the top. David asked the fans to get behind Jose earlier. He's spot on. If you look at that 1 through 6, we have, first of all, to say we have a manager who I've said already on the show is much more equipped than any other manager in that top 6 to perform under this much pressure. Secondly, best goal differential in the league, lowest goals conceded from open play, and 3rd lowest goals conceded period in the league. Like, that is going to separate you from the rest of the pack in a table that's this tight. Being sound defensively will see you through. That is the biggest factor towards this season, as tight as things are. So I really firmly believe we are going to win the league this year. And I like David, ask the fans, get behind Jose, get behind the team, and start showing the same belief that we ask our players to show when they're approaching matches and approaching a potential title winning season, because there's every reason to think that we can go and win the title. But the fans got to believe it. They got to get behind Jose. They got to get behind the team. But we're well equipped to do it.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's a long season. We're only halfway through. So many things have changed so far. So many things can change in the remainder of the season. But we're hearing a lot more from teams, from managers, from players this season. So the next game is the most important game. The game after that is the game that we want to win. Taking a quick look at the next 5 fixtures for teams. Liverpool have Spurs away, West Ham away, Brighton at home, then they've City at home and Leicester away, and they follow that up with a Merseyside derby, a really tough run of fixtures there. Manchester United in the league have Sheffield United at home, Arsenal away, Southampton at home, Everton at home, and then West Brom away. Some really, really sticky fixtures in there. Manchester City now without Kevin De Bruyne have West Brom away, Sheffield United at home, Liverpool away, Tottenham at home, Arsenal away. Again, some games there where they could drop points. And Spurs have Liverpool at home, Brighton away, Chelsea at home, West Brom at home, Manchester City away. So there are so many games in the next 5 fixtures where the big teams are playing the big teams. If we're looking at this, what I'm going to look at, what I want to look at, is the record that teams have against the Big Six so far this season. We've beaten Man City, we've beaten Arsenal, we've beaten Manchester United, we should have beaten Liverpool, we could have beaten Chelsea. Liverpool haven't been that good. City haven't been that good. United have struggled in some of them. This next 5 games, it could be so massive for us. And David, does that fixture list, does that excite you?
100%. Look, I'm not scared. I'm not scared of our fixture list, to be honest with you. I think we'll do City. I think we'll do Chelsea. We should be doing Brighton, and I think we'll do Liverpool Thursday at home. So come after these next 5 running games, we could very well be sitting up the top. And one thing I just want to say is you see the high pressing teams, you see the likes of Liverpool, City, they're all gassing out now because the way the games are coming in quick succession. Jose's tactics have been absolutely spot on for the way the games come in quick and fast, because you can't go out and press and play attacking all the time. You'll end up tiring out like you see with Liverpool and City now. So Jose's tactics is good. It's reserving energy. So up to now, it's been spot on. A lot of people have also given out about Toby being dropped over the Christmas. No matter, I remember saying to you that I don't think he was dropped. I think he's rested to come into this period of fixtures in order so that he hasn't gassed out, so that he is full of energy and he can lead us through. That's what I firmly believe. And I said that to you a week or two ago after one of the games when we seen him drop. So for me, this is the time now where we all literally, I know I've said it already, but we have to come together as one now. We can't sit here divided. Yeah, we don't have to agree with everything. We can all have our own opinions. That's fine. But as soon as we go 1-0 down, stop with this Josie out shit. There's no need for it. Because you're the same person at the end of the game that goes missing when we end up winning it. Do you know what I mean? Everyone needs to get behind Josie. We all need to come together as one. Do you know what I mean? Look, even me, I criticise the players. But over these next few games, unless it's warranted, I'm going to try and not criticise some of the players, because I firmly believe now is the period, now is the fixtures, where if we give it our all and we come out with favourable results, that'll push us on to win the league. And I'm fully with Scott. Scott's driving the train in America. I'm driving the train over here in Ireland, across the UK, across Europe. So do you know what I mean? Everyone else now, I'm going to stop. I'm going to be making stops over the next few weeks. You need to get on, because we're going all the way to the title.
Absolutely love it. I'm fully aboard the train. I was kind of thinking about getting off there for some time. I think I want to go all the way through to the end. David, we've Shane here saying, hi lads, hope I didn't miss the Liverpool crisis chat. But you did, Shane, so we had to start with that because it was just so funny. We couldn't resist. It'll be available on the stream replay though. You can head back, you can have a look at that. I'm sure you'll be able to listen to that without crying too much. Wayne says Jose seems to have a better idea of his main 11 now, so he knows who will do the job for him and the club. We still have FA Cup, League Cup final, title race and Europa League to contend with. Scott, those next 5 fixtures, huge for Spurs. And I said this when we had earlier in the season, we had that run of City, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool and Leicester all in the kind of same, like a 7-game spell. If we come out of that near the top of the table, I thought we were right in the title race. Do you think it's similar now that if we are in and around at the end of this period, that we could quickly become the favourites for this league title?
Absolutely. I think I'll compound of what David, discussed earlier and say that even a couple of months ago, when you looked at February and things were starting to take shape, we got out of our group as first place, in the Europa League group. We found ourselves in the final of the League Cup. I looked at February and I said, I think this is the month that's going to make or break the season, because no doubt about it, we have a tough run of fixtures coming up. But like you both said, we have outperformed expectations consistently against the top 6 all season long, and it's because of Jose and the approaches that he's taken. So I do believe that if we play our cards right, we will come out at the end of February on top of the table. I think the biggest reason I'm hopeful that can actually happen, and it's kind of on the point the listener just made. I'm sorry I forgot the name, but it was a great point, because Jose has kind of figured out his 11. But for me, it's not so much the 11. I think he's really figured out the midfield, and it's not necessarily like the same 3 or 4 or 2 or whatever he's doing. But I think what I'm saying is he's really figured out, how to approach each opponent, the type of football they're going to play, and put the effective midfield in place to counter them. And I don't mean counter-attacking football, but just counter whatever they're doing. He knows how to oppose it now. We've seen even Winks used effectively at a few moments where I didn't necessarily think that playing Winks was the right call. Was proven very wrong by Jose Mourinho, who's certainly more capable of making decisions than I am, right? But he really has seemed to figure out what he wants to do with that midfield. And for me, I think, games are won and lost there, especially a Jose approach where you are winning and losing games in those transitions. Your midfield's got to be there. Tongi's in full form. PEH is got to be, the best stopper in the league at the moment, without a doubt. And he's not even stopping from like sitting right in front of the center backs, but he's just so effective at disrupting the play and allowing really whoever his midfield partner, he's allowing them to really do their thing by taking pressure off of them. And again, Jose had just figured it out to a T. So if we get the midfield right, we go through this month, we come out on top. And I think from there, we're in firm control of the league, which is going to be different for us. We've really never been in firm control of the Premier League ever. Even the season Leicester won it, and maybe there was an argument that we really never were. And that's because we didn't have Jose Mourinho leading the charge, but very hopeful for this next month.
Yeah, that's a good point there. I always make the point with that season when Leicester won the league, Tottenham were top throughout the entire season. We were top for a combined total of 13 minutes. So if anyone who says we battled that league title, just look at the fact that Arsenal were top at Christmas and they didn't manage to do that. Just want to welcome Martin to the stream. You missed us slagging United, Martin. We were talking about how their position up there is fraudulent, how Bruno Fernandes is all they rely on, Rashford and Martial aren't good enough. But look, we're finishing up now. You can see that on the stream replay. Bradley's saying, I don't want to be negative, but we are dropping too many points to win the league. Top 4 is a must. Paul says, come on, the only thing Winks is good for is to carry a water bottle. The team's still only time he's selected. There's been some times he's played in the last couple of weeks, and look, I don't think Winks is good enough, but in the last couple of weeks he's been a very good addition. Wayne as well saying Højbjerg and Tongi are the perfect combination in the middle. Look, lads, I suppose we leave it there. A fantastic discussion with this title race. I think we can all agree there's a lot of confidence in this podcast right now that we can go on and win that Premier League title. I just want to say to anyone who is watching, if you are new to the channel and you want more of these podcasts, live watch-alongs, previews, reviews, transfer talk videos, make sure to smash that subscribe button down below. And if you do want access to exclusive content, which will be ramping up in the next couple of weeks, and also access to member call-in shows, hit that join button down below. I just want to thank all of our members so far. We've got Wayne Bonner, Louis Landers, Acone, Bradley Coombs, Liam Donovan, The Danish Yid, FDog AM, Spartan 7 Gaming, Eunice, Christopher W, Kaylee Lowe, Jiminy, Dolby Skills, Kyle Patrick Vineyard, DJ Samuel, Martin Mongan, Alan Clark, Sarah Null, Haitham Al-Batashi, James Watson, Paranormal Frank, Deck W, The Last Minute Winner Podcast, Darrow Flanagan, Premier Hotspur TV, Paul Markey, Arthur Everett, Jeremy Smith, and Ratty Star. So thank you very much to all of you for becoming channel members. Absolutely fantastic for me. I really appreciate that. Before we go, David, you got a lot coming up on your channel in the next couple of weeks if you want to let our listeners know.
Yeah, 100%. So I think this Sunday you'll get the first edition of me and Matty's news transfer weekly, news roundup weekly, where we'll be giving you not only just transfer news, but we'll give you a loan watch. We'll be giving you the fixtures and results for the first team, the under 23s and the women's team, and also any other news surrounding our club. Then on Monday, also at 6 o'clock, your boy Matty's Tell Me Your Spurs story is dropping. The first one with We Are Tottenham TV was a success. It went very well. It helped my channel grow. And your one is just as good, Matty, if not better. So everyone that's a fan of Matty, make sure you get over and watch that at 6 o'clock. And while you're at it, why not throw it in some of the love you throw Matty and smash that subscribe button on my channel. And then also, me and Marcelo will have another edition of our weekly show, The Spurs View from the Opposite Sides of the World. So look out for that. And then, but the main one is the watch along on your channel here Thursday night, Matty. That's the one I'm looking forward to. Forget about my content. It's all about Thursday night coming out.
Oh, Thursday night is going to be a very, very exciting one. I'm really looking forward to that. But also that Telling Me Your Spurs story that I recorded with David is one of my favorite videos I've ever done. So make sure to head over to David's channel, link in the description below, to subscribe and make sure you don't miss that. Absolutely fantastic video. And Scott, do you want to tell us what's coming up on Podspur Chicken Ball podcast soon?
Yeah, you betcha. Honestly, two shows that I'm a part of. It's Chicken Ball Pod, all one word, and Tottenham Pod, all one word. Tottenham Pod is going to be more of your analysis and breakdown, where Chicken Ball is a bit of banter and entertainment, right? Do have a big feature, not a feature of any guest specifically, but a feature that we're doing on our show, which is hanging out with Jose Quichena, where we take your questions on that you'd like to ask Jose Mourinho, and we do our best to give you the answer that they would give you, with a little bit of shithousery and banter mixed in, of course. So keep your eyes peeled. Appreciate the love and support. Continue to support both Maddie and David's pages. They're doing some fantastic things. I really mean it. You will not be disappointed. So, appreciate any love and support that anyone's able to give. Appreciate both of you having me on as always, and come on, you Spurs. Yeah, look, again, two more podcasts I highly recommend you go check out. You might see me popping up on Podspur every now and then, so make sure to go over check that, and of course the Chicken Ball Pod as well.
I just want to say, actually, I was on the Chicken Ball Pod, and it is great fun. He's not lying. It is very entertaining to be on. me and Scott sat there. We had a very good chat, do you know what I mean, about all things Tottenham. So make sure you do get over and check it out. It's his baby, and it's well worth a listen.
Appreciate that, David, and you'll definitely be back on. Keep your eyes peeled for both of these fellows on both shows, without a doubt. So.
Absolutely. Look, there's more than enough Spurs content to get you through, the boredom of any sort of lockdown you might be enduring right now. David, Scott, thank you so much for joining me today, and to everyone who's joined, thank you for watching. See what the numbers are looking like. We've had a little over 1,500 of you join us over the last 50 or so minutes. So thank you very much to every single one of you. Make sure to smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, and as always, thanks for watching.